So we're just going to give you about 15 minutes, a little taste of marketing and advertising, some thoughts and some trends. It's a big subject. I've been asked to do it in 15 minutes, which isn't really possible because I could speak for about 15 days. I'm going to try and condense just some ideas, some general big trends I think are interesting, and create a little story for you. What is very interesting, I think, particularly promising about this course is that it's marketing and advertising together, which I think is kind of unique and special. And also it's in an art school. And some of you may think, well, why would you want to do marketing in an art school? Yeah, it's like marketing should be done in a business school. But actually, the world's changing a lot, and the boundaries between disciplines and businesses is very different from where it used to be 5 years ago. And marketeers are much more creative now. They're expected to do many more creative tasks. They're supposed to work with creative individuals and creative professions in a way like they never used to do 5, 10, 15 years ago. So that's why if you're doing it in an art school, actually it's a perfect environment to be kind of like energizing your creative thinking. And I hope to show you some campaigns and some advertising which is very creative and will get you kind of thinking. So in 15 minutes, I'm just going to identify some trends. Obviously one of the sort of big things, digital. Everything's digital these days, but actually when people say, "Ooh, talk about digital," the fact of the matter is everything is digital. You can't get away from digital. I mean, we all have a digital apparatus in our hands. It's kind of the oxygen we breathe in advertising and marketing. Now, everything you do, if it's a TV ad, if it's a print ad, if it's an outdoor, some aspect of that campaign is going to be linked with digital. So digital is kind of like the background that exists. And what's quite interesting, there are lots of trends and lots of things you can talk about digital. I'm just going to pull out a couple. One of the things that's interesting is what I call macro globalization. Macro is like very big, what it's done for us around the world on a big scale. And micro fragmentation, it's about little small things. So digital is kind of like at the same time, it's kind of like doing two things. There's these two opposites pulling us. So by macro globalization, it's very interesting to look at certain things like Netflix. Has anyone got Netflix subscriptions here? Hands up. 1, 2, 3, 4? Oh, that was just itchy. Netflix started about 5 years ago, and they already have 104 million subscribers in 190 countries. That's incredible. So Netflix is now a global phenomenon. It's not country-based. What's also interesting is that shoppers online, 25% of purchases of shoppers online are done outside of the country you live in. Yeah? So that's completely different from 10 years ago, where shopping was a much more physical process and was linked to the realities of what shops were in your neighborhood or nearby or in your country. But now that's completely changed. So that's had a huge kind of influence on the way that we think, and also the sorts of possibilities you can do in marketing campaigns and in advertising campaigns. So that's big. What's small, and funny enough, is that whilst you have this huge kind of macro dynamic, you also have this micro where actually there's much more fragmentation now, much more like little smaller groups, smaller tribes, people who can discover other like-minded people or people with the same interest. Am I speaking normal? Okay. People who have the same interest as you, and they might be anywhere in the world. Yeah. So you may want to connect with people that are interested in Japanese skateboard graphics. Yeah. You'll find a little niche for that. Or like this picture, feminist Zine magazines from the 80s, very niche, yeah? Very small little part of the world, a little small group of people who are interested, but they can be anywhere in the world. So that actually has enabled us to do all sorts of things. It's to like go big and go small at the same time. Also, when you see it in politics as well, obviously with the fact that there's a lot of now more extreme opinions, because people sit in smaller boxes now and they don't necessarily meet other opinions. So there's a sort of dark side to this. But it's a very interesting and very important tendency, and very interesting for you guys if you go into marketing, go further on in the careers, because you can actually reach so many people now doing like-minded things to you. You can create products and services. They don't have to be for people in Moscow or Russia. They could be for people in South America or anywhere in the world. So it gives you a huge potential. Moving on from that, obviously data and artificial intelligence. This is a very interesting part of sort of the marketing, very interesting, just general part of life and what's happening in the communication world. What is particularly exciting are some of the ideas that data and artificial intelligence gives to us. And I want to show you and share a couple of campaigns. So this is a really nice, it's an interesting product. It's a company in London. It's a bus company, and they have little buses. What they do is these red, blue, black is the existing bus routes in London. But what they have understood is if they track people with their mobile phone, they can understand where we go, and they can understand that actually on this particular journey, there are a lot of people moving in London like this. So what they then do is then create a pop-up bus service, to actually take people on these routes. So actually it's a really clever idea. It's using modern technology in real time to understand behavior of people. It's all about behavior in marketing. And data gives us fantastic, and these phones give us a fantastic access to data like we've never had it. And a product created, they put a pop-up bus on this service, and they know that people will need it. This is another favorite of mine, which is for Snickers. Snickers is all about голодный, hunger. It's the same all around the world. And this is a lovely idea which uses the idea of hunger and good mood.
Guys, what colour is this sock blue? Demonstrate.
The internet is an angry place. But what if that's just because we're hungry? Luckily, Snickers has created the Hungerism, a hunger algorithm that monitors the mood of the internet. So when anger goes up, Snickers prices at 7-Eleven go down. Now when the weather's crappy, you get cheaper Snickers. Political scandal, cheaper Snickers. Meteor strike, definitely cheaper Snickers. To lock in a price, hit Get a Snickers on your mobile to get a reduced price barcode, then simply head down to your local 7-Eleven to claim your Snickers. Snickers Hungerism. The angrier the internet, the cheaper the Snickers. Get your low price bar at snickers.com.au. You're not you when you're hungry.
So it's a really clever idea. So they can actually adjust the price of Snickers. And what's really neat is you actually get a code on your mobile phone. You get a barcode which you can take to the casa. They'll just scan it and you get the price. It's a really, really neat idea. In Russia, some of the casas are not quite that ready for technology like that, but that's changing very quickly. And some of the more advanced retailers like Azbuka Vkusa can do interesting stuff with the barcode and price. But that gives you all sorts of interesting possibilities. So we got another one. This is great. This is a very interesting artificial intelligence campaign done for a TV series called The Pope. And they launched The Pope in France, and they wanted an interesting and non-standard campaign to launch it with. And this is very clever. This is where marketing people have actually been very creative and actually thought outside the box and come up with some interesting ideas. And they've used Twitter, which is very big outside of in Europe and in the UK.
There's a new Pope in town, His Holiness Pius XIII, and he has his own series on Canal Plus, The Young Pope. Different, unconventional, iconoclast. He decided to show the world how modern he is, not by shouting it from the balcony of the Vatican, but rather on social networks, by addressing in particular the millions of sinners to be found there, and by replying to each of their posts in real time, with witty answers and quoting only the Bible.
Stephen, just shut up and go fuck yourself.
Love each other in the same way that I have loved you. John 15:12.
Trump just called Clinton a nasty woman. Bitch seems more appropriate.
Avoid all perverse talk. Stay away from corrupt speech. Proverbs 4:24.
But since this man is not a god, just a pope, and since he has to answer millions of people, we gave him a digital aid in the form of an artificial intelligence, shaped in his image, powered by IBM Watson, and baptized Amen. It knows the 39,000 verses of the Bible as well as he does, thinks like him, and is as compassionate and humorous as he is.
Freshly arrived pizza. Time to feast.
But when you give a feast, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind. Luke 14:13.
Flagrant foul on Ronaldo. Is the referee fucking blind?
Be silent, and I will teach you wisdom. John 33:33.
Just ran 10 kilometers in 50 minutes. Who's the best, losers?
Do not keep talking so proudly, or let your mouth speak such arrogance. Samuel 2:3.
Practical when you're dealing with millions of people. 1 million replies generated by our artificial intelligence. 4 million people reached. The best launch for a series in France. Not bad, right?
Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. Ecclesiastes 12:8.
So it's a really clever campaign, a really nice way of getting the message out and making the message relevant by actually having it linked with the Bible, but using kind of like whatever people are saying on Twitter and replying with it using artificial intelligence. That's really neat. And those are the sort of possibilities in this world are developing. This is all still quite new, work that's only been done in the last year, and this is growing very fast. So you'll see much more of this, and more things like the pop-up bus service. Of course, as we get more digital, there's always an opposite reaction. As you do anything, there's always an opposite that starts as well. And we're all familiar with digital and how frustrating it can be sometimes. Some of the user interfaces are less than satisfactory. Some of the user experiences are really quite frustrating. We run out of Wi-Fi, 3G doesn't work, you've got money on your phone. It's like, ugh. Yeah? So you get this kind of frustration. And in fact, there's a sort of tendency of going offline. Yeah, I think we're all familiar with people who've decided to throw in their Facebook or Contactee accounts for a while. And there's this kind of tendency called IRL, in real world, which is very interesting. There are a couple of ways this has been evolving. One of them is actually the brands themselves kind of going offline. So Amazon, which is probably the biggest kind of seller of consumption in the world, and Amazon are a monster. They have created these bricks and mortar shops called Amazon Go. So actually they've been online and they've now gone into the real world. But what's clever obviously about this is they have all sorts of data about you. So they know what sort of books you like. So if you go in there, they can make recommendations for you. They also know which books are the most popular, so they can actually put those books on the tables in front of the doors when people walk in. So it's actually a clever way of using information from the online world in the offline reality. They've got bookshops and they've now got grocery stores. So they're trying to actually create an additional experience there online. They're trying to create a real world association with Amazon and to improve that experience. And there's another. I won't ask who's got Tinder on their phone. Obviously, there are a lot of dating sites, Tinder, Bumble, etc., and they have discovered there are a lot of issues associated with that type of interaction just online. And in fact, one of the apps called Bumble have actually created in real life meetings where actually people meet up and physically see each other and meet each other rather than doing it online. So it's actually changed the whole dynamic of the kind of the digital sphere and actually answering people's kind of urge to actually really wanting to interact and meet people in the flesh. So that's a very interesting kind of reaction to digital. And there's more and more of that. And there's another thing which I call brandlessness. It's a long, ridiculous word. There are certain brands that people are getting sort of a bit suspicious of brands. Does anyone know Paul Smith? Do you all know Paul Smith? Anyone got anything by Paul Smith? Anyone got anything by Paul Smith? Oh, yes? Okay. Wow, lots of hands go up. Okay. Is everyone happy with the quality? Because I find Paul Smith quality is pretty bad. If you get a suit from Paul Smith, you get a hole in the elbows after about a year. Or like Zarpunky, you know, get some nice Zarpunky for like 50, 60, probably more dollars. And they break, yeah, which shouldn't happen in a brand like Paul Smith. And then you buy Zarpunky for $5 in the railway station, and they don't break. They're fine. It's like, what's going on? Paul Smith, the $100 Zarpunky, and they're rubbish, break, and the $5 Zarpunky from the Vauxhall is okay. Yeah, and so people are now questioning again. Well, why would I pay $100 to these guys, to Paul Smith? And there's now a reaction against that, which is actually non-branded products and services, which are growing. We've seen it originally with private labels in supermarkets who had their own labels, but now they're kind of other similar type propositions where they are offerings without brand. And it's all about giving you a sort of a good experience without paying all that extra money just because Paul Smith's name's on it, yeah? And Paul Smith's name doesn't really mean anything because it's not giving you any quality. Well, certainly my experience with Paul Smith. And you know, Paul Smith is basically making all his suits in Bangladesh next to the same people that are probably making those suits and selling them on the Vauxhall. So, you know, it doesn't make any sense. So what these guys are trying to do, they're trying to actually going to give you a much higher quality sort of experience with the product without all that brand rubbish and without having to pay all that extra money for it. And you see this in a lot of cosmetics in the United States, food, and there are certain small supermarkets starting up now, specifically with these types of offerings. So that's brandlessness. And the one I was going to say is unexpected channels. This is this actually is linked with the brand I work on. I own with a friend of mine, we developed a brand called Vostok, which is, I don't know, anyone come across this? Has anyone seen it? Yeah, okay. So you can actually buy it in Moscow. It's actually originally was created in Berlin. It's actually based on German drinks, on Russian drinks, sorry. So that was originally Baikal. We took it to Germany and recreated it. It is basically the same, but a bit changed for German taste. That's obviously tahun, which has been redone. We put in some ginger, imbir in there. So we slightly changed them. But what actually was very interesting is we were approached by a film company who wanted just to use the bottle as a vehicle, just to put a neck hanger. Yeah, you know those little things? So they came and they said, "Oh, could we we like Vostok, could we put on a little promotional neck hanger, neck hanger, it's called here, like this." And actually it was a small German film about two immigrants coming from Russia to live in Berlin. And they went, well, it's the same as Vostok. It's a Russian immigrant living in Berlin. So we went, yeah, it's cool. Then we said, why don't we actually make a lemonade for you? Let's make an actual drink, not just like a neck hanger. Let's create a special drink for you. So we created a special pop-up lemonade, which actually was for this film. It's called Chick. It's actually quite a well-known story and book in Berlin. And this is Studio Canal. Studio Canal are quite big. They're a European film company. And it worked very well. And they then came back and said, "Oh, we've got a big film now called Paddington. Could we do the same project with Paddington?" So we said, yeah, okay, we'll make a special marmalade flavor lemonade. So it's like, this is, it's sort of orange with various other like burnt orange rind flavor inside it and cloves, yeah, so typical flavors that you'd find. It's a little bit bitter. And this is very interesting because it's actually a completely new way of thinking about reaching people. Studio Canal are very creative marketing people. They don't stick to their regular channels of TV, print, social media. They're thinking, what other channels can we exploit? So what it begins to look like. This is just from Instagram. So this is Paddington. So basically, what Studio Canal are getting with Vostok is they get access to the shelf. Yeah, so they've got some interesting. They're sold in 4-packs, so they're getting some interesting facings on the shelf. They get some kind of fun POS in the supermarkets. So it's a very interesting way of trying to sort of communicate with people in other ways, not just the standard, and actually creating a beverage which actually kind of like adds to the story. And it's interesting because actually in Russia, this only arrived in Russia about 10 days ago, a lot of people don't know who Paddington is. Does everyone know who Paddington is? Yeah? You know he's like Winnie Pooh 2. Yeah, he's Winnie Pooh 2 in England. Yeah, because he's a medved that everyone loves in England. You understand he's not a Winnie Pooh everyone loves in Russia because the fantastic Russian cartoons. But I've spoke to some people who didn't understand who Paddington was. They went, "Oh, просто крутой мишка." С мармеладом, почему нет? So that's quite interesting. So it creates a much more interesting kind of like the brand experience kind of like becomes much more rich. For Vostok, for us, it's interesting because we kind of like that link, and for them, it's interesting. And we don't pay anyone. There's no money. We didn't pay. No one's paying any rights. It's just like a cooperation. We just agree production costs. So who develops the lemonade cost? Who prints the? I mean, they print all the POS. So it's quite an interesting idea, and that's the sort of thing that good marketeers can do. They can go, wow, we need to get to young people, and it's kind of a hipster brand, maybe we can use that, and then have a dialogue and actually create something. So it's a very creative, good marketeers are very creative people, which is why it's really good to do marketing and advertising in an art school, because you're in an environment that's all about creativity. And every day you'll come into an environment where you've got designers, artists, illustrators, people who you may end up becoming long life friends with, who may end up being sort of partners on business ventures. Yeah, you've got all these resources here, so it makes a lot of sense to have marketing and advertising in an art school. And in fact, we've got another one. We were literally about a week ago. Time Warner called us from America, and they went, "We just saw your Paddington. Could we do something for a Will Smith film?" We're Studio Canal is European, so we're kind of a little bit more. The Americans are always a little bit scary, but anyway. So that leads me on to my next thing, which is collaboration. Yeah, it's very important. It's very good when you can find brands with similar interests or similar values that you can actually combine. Yeah, so that's what we sort of did with this, and it was totally unexpected. And at the beginning, we didn't know what would end up at the end. It was just like we had a meeting, and we went, yeah, no, maybe this, maybe that, let's try this. Yep. And these are some big collaborations. Who's used Airbnb? Airbnb? Only 1, 2, 3? Airbnb. Yeah, okay. So Airbnb actually is in Russia. And they're interesting, again, very creative marketing people. Again, their story to start with is they kind of failed. If you listen to the guy who created Airbnb, it wasn't a success to start with. He had a lot of problems, and it took a long time to convince people. And it's a great story of ups and downs, and then suddenly he hits the tipping point, yeah, and it goes ballistic. Yeah, and now it's very successful. But it was a difficult path. And what's very interesting is the Chicago Institute of Art had an exhibition of Van Gogh, and to promote it, they went, it'd be really cool to make a room like a Van Gogh painting. So this is a real room. It's not a painting. That's a real bed like Van Gogh with real Van Gogh floor and Van Gogh chairs and Van Gogh table. And you can rent it on Airbnb. So that's what they did. It's this like cooperation. So they said, Airbnb, please sell this room for people. And it was a complete success. Apparently in like 2 hours it was booked out for 6 months. Everyone wants to use this room, and it's really clever. And it's not just about let's go and use the room, it's about people talking about it, you know, it's amplification. It's about the news talking about it and creating stories. So that's a really interesting story. And they did another one. I love this one. This actually is after the Chicago Van Gogh. Audi wanted to do the same, you know, and they have this car. It's the fastest production car in the world, 300 kilometers an hour. But it's very difficult to drive a car 300 kilometers an hour unless you're in the middle of the desert, yeah, where there's nothing to hit. Yeah? But if you're in the middle of the desert, there's nowhere to live. So they said, Airbnb, can we build a little domek? Yeah, it's like a little dacha in the desert. Yeah, and Airbnb, you will sell this on through your channels, but it's an experience. It's not just about staying here. It's about driving these cars. In fact, 2 of the cars. This is a real page. It's not fake. I did a screenshot maybe a couple of weeks ago. There it is in Russian rubles, if you want to take it, 37,000 rubles for the night, or for 24 hours, and it's in Arizona. But it's a great idea, and they made a fantastic film. Let's have a look at the film. This, I mean, it's not only a great product and service, this also is a fantastic piece of storytelling. Yeah, it's probably one of the better pieces of communication I've seen in the last couple of years. Just like lots of little touches, like when the guy, you'll see, walks past his kids and tells him to stop playing with the scorpion, or when, I won't say any more, watch it, it's great.
Kids, don't play with the scorpion.
Honey, we're out of
Coffee? Got it.
Forget something? George?
It's a fantastic piece of, yeah, it's good, isn't it? And it's a fantastic, great music as well. But it's a fantastic, well, you've got both brands, and they've managed to put their sort of brand values together, because Airbnb is all about experiences in places, traveling, finding new things, and Audi, it's about an ultimate driving machine. A couple more things. One thing that is worth you looking at is Cannes Lions. Who knows about the Cannes Lions? Hands? Cannes Lions, yeah, it's like the advertising festival. So only 2 or 3 hands, yeah? This actually is a great, it's a sort of advertising festival, but it's kind of the top advertising festival, and it's the lead marketing people kind of from all the big brands, Procter & Gamble's, Nestle's, Mercedes, Audi, all the rest of it, they all go there. And there's a lot of great work, a lot of great ideas. It's something that's worth looking out for. Between the 18th and the 22nd of June, they have the festival. If you go on their website, there's a lot of very interesting work. So the work I've shown you today has all come from there. Yeah? And you agree that work is very interesting, and lots of very interesting thinking. So there's always one to keep in the back of your head to have a look at. I want to show you a couple more campaigns I think are really exceptional and clever. IKEA have always been very creative in their approach to marketing. In fact, a lot of Swedish companies are very good. Volvo, again, exceptional. Did you remember the Volvo trucks advert with the guy? Yeah, okay. So they're a very unusual sort of mindset. There's clever Swedish people up in their cold little country. IKEA obviously is a brand that, in fact, the guy just died, didn't he, about a week ago? One of the richest guys in the world, who still used a bicycle to go to work. An amazing guy. This DNA, this spirit, this ducha, whatever, of the brand is kind of throughout IKEA. It doesn't matter where you go in the world. Even in Russia, the IKEA ads are good, done by BBDO. This is a lovely idea, and it's a really clever piece of marketing, because what they've done is that they've taken this idea that what people look for, because we're all searching on the internet, and what they've done is they've taken a search idea and linked it with a product. Clever, yeah? And very insightful. So that's clever marketing people who are thinking, how can we reach our audience? Now, how can our products answer a particular mood or a particular type of behavior? Yeah? So have a look at this. I think it's really fantastic.
IKEA's products have always been inspired by how people live in the real world. There's a variety of everyday dilemmas that can be solved or improved by our products. How can we remind people of this? These days, most of us turn to the internet for answers when problems arise. To prove that IKEA can be a part of the solution, we created what we like to call retail therapy. We simply renamed IKEA's products as the most common Google searches about relationship problems in Sweden. When you Googled your problem, you found an IKEA product with the exact same name, on a site identical to IKEA's main shopping site, a product that might help you improve your relationship at home. So whether it's a snoring husband, a never-ending gaming son, or any other relationship problem you have, IKEA can come to the rescue. Or at least put a smile on your face while you keep Googling for an answer. Thanks for watching.
Did you understand the idea? It's really simple, really idiot simple idea. The idea like the scissors, that my kids spend too much time on the computer, on games, and it's like you get a pair of scissors, yeah. So it's a really neat way, and it's marketing people who are ready to think. And if you work on the agency side, and you know, it's always good when you come across people in the marketing department who are creative, yeah, who are open to these ideas, because actually when you do that, it's fantastic. And I got one more I want to show you, which I think is another clever campaign. Again, it's clients are often very obsessed with their products. They're in love with their products, and that's kind of a problem. And I can understand it. I make lemonade, and I also kind of have this kind of weird love of this. Yeah. So when a client can sort of take their product less seriously, it's a really good thing. I think that makes good marketing people, as they can basically look at their product from a sort of different point of view. And you can have fun with the product without being disrespectful. Yeah? And you see that in good marketing. This is a lovely campaign for Cheetos. You all know Cheetos snack? Yeah.
There's a Cheetos museum. I know there is.
I'm Madison Papel, owner of the Cheetos Abe Lincoln. You can see the two eyes there. And then right there, a little speck, that's where the nose is.
There's the little crown, and the torch, In front here, that's where her book would be.
I have Cheetos that look like King Tut, Cheetos a dolphin, Cheetos Eiffel Tower.
This is my favorite story of the day. How would you like to make money eating Cheetos?
Did you hear that Cheetos is offering $60,000 to anybody who finds a Cheeto that looks like somebody famous?
Your wacky, weird-shaped Cheeto can now earning up to 60 grand.
Cheetos is calling on people to upload their pictures of Cheetos that are accidentally shaped like something else. The winner will get $10,000. It's a boot. Yes. It's a Cheeto boot.
A Cheetos museum is giving away thousands of dollars for weirdly shaped Cheetos. There is a Cheetos museum.
Wait a second, Paul. We're rich. We've got an entire bowl of Donald Trump.
So it's an interesting idea. Again, they've had fun with the shape of the Cheetos, which are kind of like all random, and created something very unusual. So basically, advertising and marketing is tremendous potential for people with creativity, and you're living in a time when you can really go out and just about create anything, because there's so many opportunities and tools. There we go. Thank you very much. Right, voila.